Daily Show. Always great to talk to our friends at OSF Healthcare. Meredith Walter joins us now. You kind of are a little busy at the hospital, I would say so.
Very busy. Very busy program.
Well, especially, with what you're doing. You're an adult nurse practitioner and primarily cardiology, correct?
Correct.
Well, and as we're coming on and talking about this, I mean, to me, I feel like there's no better time because, folks are out working in the yard when it's way too hot and maybe doing some very stressful, activities getting older, and they could do it, 20 years ago and 30 and just a little bit tougher. And to have your insights is really interesting on this, and let's just kind of go right into it. What the mission of the cardiology service line, and that's your guys' patient-centered care and the prevention and innovations. And when someone meets with you for the first time, does the interaction normally start after an event, or do you guys see patients that are coming in with just some lingering issues that could lead to something bigger? Yes,
absolutely. We see a lot of patients that come in because they have risk factors, or they have had a coronary calcium score, CT, which is pretty popular right now, and they may have elevated levels of calcium indicating that they could have coronary disease starting or a severe blockage that needs to be, looked into further. And so we see a lot of younger people just coming in because they want to be proactive about their health. Mm-hmm. But then we also see patients that, had no idea, had no symptoms, or, ignored their symptoms. Mm-hmm. So we see a wide range.
Well, and what are some of the risk factors, that go into play? Is it all dependent upon age too, or is it kind of a risk factor as a risk factor for all?
Yeah, women are usually protected by, their estrogen until they hit menopause, and then their risk is equal
Really?
To a man after that point, yes. And then, of course, diabetes and hypertension and smoking and obesity, family history, those are all risk factors for heart disease.
And, whenever you start that process, maybe you do the calcium test. And I want to ask you a little bit more about that because that sounds pretty fascinating. But, calcium test, or, you see something in a chart, the process starts. What's that look like for that individual? Is it a couple of, appointments of just trying to figure out the best, approach to be proactive to avoid any of these bigger issues, or does treatment start right away?
Well, an initial consult, and then if their primary physician has already done some of the legwork and some of that testing, then medications can be started if appropriate, or maybe their primary doctor has already started medications for blood pressure or cholesterol or even diabetes, and then we kind of discuss what further testing may be done from there. So
interesting. Yeah. What are some of those tests? Like I know there's EKGs and echoes. Is there any others that that you guys are doing?
Stress testing. We are.
Can I not to cut you? What is a stress test? Because I keep hearing that, and I've heard it like my entire life, and I don't know.
So many different kinds. It kind of depends on the type of person that you have. If they're able to walk on the treadmill. So there's exercise stress tests. There's what we call pharmacological or medicine stress tests, where if somebody is unable to walk on the treadmill, it can be done with nuclear imaging and nuclear pictures. It can be done with echocardiogram or ultrasounds of the heart. So many different factors go into what type of stress test somebody needs to have or what you're going to order. So
when it comes to the Holter and the event monitoring, is that someone that's like maybe having like TIAs or some type of spell? What is that used for?
So TIAs are strokes. You're looking for a heart rhythm problem, usually called atrial fibrillation. Okay. But if somebody passes out.
And we know that as AFib, correct?
Correct. Okay. Yep. And if somebody passes out, they usually get a monitor to look for any rhythm problems that could have been contributing to their syncope or passing out. So, yeah.
Do those ever get tricky? Just because, I don't know obviously how any of this works. I didn't go to medical school, but it just seems like there could be a circumstance where maybe somebody just has, something happened, with their heartbeat or something like that, and it was just one event, and everything else is okay. Does that happen quite a bit? Are there any type of outliers?
Absolutely, kind of rare.
Yeah,
rare episodes, every 6 months, and so. I don't even remember how many years it's been, but now there is an implantable monitor that's kind of like a microchip that goes underneath the skin. The battery usually lasts 4 or 5 years, and those are for those rare episodes. And we are doing that procedure at OSF. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We also are one of the only hospitals in the area to offer the electrophysiology services, where an electrophysiologist who deals with rhythm problems of the heart comes once a week and sees patients and does some of the testing and treatment at OSF, so you don't have to go out of the community for further procedures.
The 270 war zone.
Yes, exactly. The river.
Well, and that's why I think it's been so fun to be a part of just watching the OSF kind of journey and how everything's evolved the last 10 years. Because, I mean, y'all are bringing so many things in to the area for being a quote-unquote rural hospital. You don't have the feel anymore. I mean, we don't have to drive for a lot of these procedures anymore. We can just go right in our own backyard again.
Yeah, they absolutely have done a wonderful job over the last couple of years, it seems like, expanding their program. I came from a smaller private cardiology practice, and I worked there for 25 years, and I've been a nurse practitioner for 20 years.
Wow.
All in cardiology and vascular health. And so this program is really amazing as far as what they have done in the last 2 years with the physicians from SLU. They're all highly skilled and trained, and have done parts of training like at the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And come over, every week, several days a week to provide services there at OSF.
Well, and, take me through your 20 years of doing that. How has it evolved over the last 20 years? Because, unless you're really living it that long and see the tenure, you don't see the true growth of medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of changes. Mm-hmm. Lots of changes.
Was it been primarily like with testing, or have those testing measures been in place?
Everything, and then just nursing care in general is different, right? So my daughter's a nurse now at Mercy, and just she'll say stuff, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we didn't have that 25 years ago. So, of course, it's ever changing, and you're learning something new every day.
Well, and I wanted to ask you too about the interventional procedures. Now maybe you guys detect something, it's at a time, or someone went through an event and you have to use it. When do those interventions start to come in place? Is it after an event normally? So,
yes, whether you have an abnormal stress test or if your event is a heart attack and you come into the hospital, they're able to, do the heart catheterizations right there. And if you need a stent, they, the cath lab's brand new. New technology, new equipment within the last couple years, and stenting, and we do the high risk procedures with the Impella device, which is also the only hospital in the area that's doing that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, honestly. They're really raising the bar.
Well, and now what's angioplasty? Did I say that right?
That's balloon.
Okay.
Balloon. Yeah, and so typically sometimes they will balloon if the blockage is too calcified. They may be only able to balloon and not put a stent in, but more often than not, they can place a stent. And
well, and just because we keep hitting on that calcium, is that what that causes that buildup? Is calcium, or is it? Because I never
calcium, cholesterol. It can be a combination of things. Yeah.
And now, what does that calcium test look like that you were mentioning?
So that's non-invasive test, no IV.
Really?
Yep. And OSF just got a CT, what they call a CTA or a CT angiogram, new CAT scan machine there that is able to do the calcium scores. Also, hopefully, eventually be able to do just angiogram pictures of the heart vessels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Instead of doing the invasive route of the heart catheterization. Yeah.
I'm sure that's not the most fun process.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, and now before we take a quick break, I wanted to ask you a little bit about this electrophysiology, which thank you for telling me how to pronounce that before we came on the air. And that was with pacemakers and loop recorders, cardiomems. What are those three items? Because we all know what a pacemaker is, but a loop recorder, what's that?
The loop recorder is another name for the implantable monitor.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, okay. That you can have for those rare rhythm problems.
Gotcha.
Or they also help manage the atrial fibrillation or the AFib that can be kind of tricky, come and go. and cause problems. Yeah.
Well, and with that, what's a cardiomem?
So the cardiomem is another implantable, about the size of a paper clip, and it helps manage people with advanced or heart failure, chronic heart failure symptoms. It goes in the pulmonary artery, and it helps measures pressures, and then we can, based on that, decide, adjust your treatment plans, hopefully keep people out of the hospital, that kind of thing. Before
we take a break, we're going to come back and talk a little bit more. This has been a great conversation. I wanted to ask you about congestive heart failure, just because it's something that I feel like a lot of us have at least heard of, a relative or somebody that has this. Can you live with congestive heart failure for quite some bit of time with treatment, or what's that look like?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's different types of heart failure, different severities, obviously, of heart failure. And so with the defibrillators and the new medicines out on the market, it's very much manageable if people do their part too.
Well, that's, I'm sure, the biggest thing is doing the part.
Yes.
Well, and we're going to come back after this quick break. But before that, your team's over there has got to be really good. You were telling me that beforehand. It's an all hands on deck thing.
It is.
And it has to be with the volume of people you guys are talking with and working with every day.
Yeah.
How many are on, I mean, not to ballpark it for me, but if you could, I mean, how many of you guys are out there working, throughout the day?
Well, there's myself, and then there's Margie, who's another nurse practitioner that has cardiology background, and then one or two physicians are there every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's just for this section.
Just for Alton OSF.
That's incredible. We'll take a quick break. We're going to come back with this really fascinating conversation, more just on heart failure, heart episodes, and just some more with OSF Healthcare. So you stay there. We'll be here on RiverBender.com and Roku TV.
Oh no, another bad headache?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to see your doctor.
OSF Healthcare can handle all of your family's primary care needs, including diagnosing health issues or referring you to a specialist. Schedule an appointment today.
For the biggest selection of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs in the Riverbend, visit AltonToyota.com or stop by their location on the Homer Adams Parkway in Alton. Winner of the prestigious President's Award, Munganast Burkhardt Alton Toyota knows how to treat their customers, and it will help you find the vehicle that is perfect for you. For years, Munganast Toyota has been a fixture in the Riverbend, and now Munganast Burkhardt carries the tradition. New name, but the same great service you've come to expect.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been an electrician. Or I could have been a nurse.
Maybe not.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started today.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
Welcome back, 9:44, a little bit of change, back with Meredith, OSF St. Anthony's Health Center. Really good conversation. I'm enjoying this, learning a lot. When it comes to heart failure management, I'm sure that's debilitating or at least demoralizing to so many patients when you're told, hey, this is what we're going through, regardless of what type of, an event it is or what type of issue it is. But what's that management plan look like? I'm sure it's tailor-made for, every individual because everybody's body's different. But is there a rehab program with it? Is it, a lot of times just maybe starting to exercise at home and being more active or changing our diets? What's that look like?
Yeah, all of that, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and depending on what type of heart failure, I feel like that's the biggest shocker for a lot of people.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because there's about 4 medicines, brand new, right off the bat, that you're more than likely going to be prescribed. So that's an adjustment and a shock. And then, of course, following, diet, weight loss, salt intake. Some people have to restrict their fluids. And it's a big change or whatever. Cardiac rehab is huge. They don't have that anywhere here in the Alton area, but we are going to work on that, and hopefully,
Wow.
that'll be the next thing we add there at OSF. Hopefully, we'll see.
Now, what are the four common medicines now when it comes to prescription?
Entresto, usually some type of a beta blocker like metoprolol.
Okay.
Jardiance, and usually aldactone, which is a type of diuretic or water pill.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you too. Now, is like metformin just for blood sugar?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's what I was
pretty
curious
much.
about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh, that's the only medicine I remember. No, when it comes to doing preventative steps for this, I can only imagine, seriously, that when you're working with folks, especially if we're in our 40s or 50s, that's the last thing that's on our mind because we still got kids and there's this busy family. What is some preventative cardiology, the risk management in that assessment? What's it look like? And even for folks that maybe don't have anything right now or they don't know of anything that's going on right now, what can we do?
Knowing your risk factors is huge, right? And I used to always say, we know what we should do. I mean, we know.
You're right.
We know that, if we're overweight, we should try to lose weight. And we know that we should try to eat more fruits and vegetables and, lean meats. But we're all in a rush, and it's easy to go through fast food joints and
Uber Eats is here.
I mean, yeah. But you really do need to, know your risk factors. And if you have, if you have a family history of heart disease, be more proactive. And
now, what's hypertension? Just because I've heard it, but I truly don't know what it is.
High blood pressure.
Okay.
High blood pressure. So, they've recently changed the guidelines, and they want everybody's blood pressure to be down under 120, 130, the top number.
Yeah.
And obviously the bottom number, less than 80 at least, they don't like people to run too much over that or whatever. But hypertension is called the number one silent killer, right? Is because you can have a higher blood pressure and feel fine until it's significantly elevated and you have, headaches or a stroke or dizziness. And
that's what I was going to ask you, what those episodes look like.
Yeah, usually headache, dizziness, maybe fatigue. There's not a whole lot of symptoms, but there's a whole lot of changes going on inside of the body, right? And you don't often know about that until you have that diagnosis.
You just think you're tired and life's been busy lately.
Yep.
Well, and do you get a lot of younger people in the office? Does hypertension, is that kind of something you deal with younger people, or is that an older
So if we're
adult?
seeing somebody for hypertension, it's usually because they've seen their primary.
Gotcha.
They may be on 2 or 3 different medications.
Gotcha.
And they're having issues or what we call resistant hypertension. And so typically we don't see a lot of people just coming in for blood pressure.
Okay.
But if they have blood pressure and risk factors or symptoms or whatever, then we may see people, but lots of young people.
Yeah.
Younger and younger.
And do you have any idea of what's leading to that? Is it just our diet? Is it because I'm an idiot and drink all these energy drinks?
Yeah, right. Diet.
Seriously.
Yeah, I think it's our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and it just is fascinating to me, though, to see the amount of that are at least under 40, number one, but even under 30 that are having these issues, too.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that makes me remember I'm still human and got to take care of the body.
Yeah, we're not invisible.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to ask you about some of the new technology and this accessibility. What does your guys' advanced imaging look like? And then you were talking about some of these, like the cholesterol test being minimally invasive. It's not invasive at all. What are some of the other minimal invasive techniques that you guys use?
Stress testing, some types of stress testing is mostly non-invasive, right? Except some stress tests require an IV. And so that's the most invasive that you would get would be an IV or whatever.
Well, that's the worst. I'll take it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Echocardiogram, which is the ultrasound of the heart, that's non-invasive, obviously. Takes only about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Lab testing.
I wanted to, this is a fascinating question, and it might be a stupid one. I just thought of this on the top of my head. But if someone's going to get tested, maybe they got to get their heart checked out. And let's say they're a cigarette smoker or they're a vapor. and they think, or it goes in our head, well, I'll just not smoke the day before. Does that do anything? Or, I mean, pretty much, is there anything that we can do to not mess up a bad, a reading on something?
Well,
Because
so we do ask people not to smoke because,
Gotcha. Okay, that's
like
interesting.
before a stress test, a couple hours before a stress test
Okay.
or whatever, because nicotine causes vasoconstriction, and that's causing your arteries to constrict. So obviously that affects blood flow to the heart muscle, to your legs, to your brain, and that's what nicotine does. And so that's why, and it causes inflammation inside the arteries.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. And so I wanted to ask too, because we're running out of time.
Sure.
You guys are with SSM. You guys partner with Salou Cardiologists, correct?
Yes.
What's that partnership look like, and how does it operate?
Well, there's several different cardiologists and, like I said, the electrophysiologist that comes over on certain days of the week. They help in the clinic. They help in the hospital. They're the ones doing the procedures. So they're all, like I said, some of them trained at the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic.
That's wild
and
to me. That's so cool.
Yeah, very skilled. And I feel like everybody there, we treat people like you're a family member, or how we would want our family members treated,
100%.
And we want the best, we want the best for you.
Well, and that takes me to this last part, and that's with the structural heart program. What is that program? And take me through the ins and outs of it.
So a couple of the cardiologists there specialize in the structure of the heart, meaning like the valves.
Okay.
And so they do the minimally invasive valve surgery, the TAVR, which is the transthoracic aortic valve replacement. They do the mitral clips. And so a lot of those procedures don't require cutting the chest open. And the purpose of it is to do it all through inside an artery through like a catheter being. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we don't do that at OSF.
Right.
But it's not, it's only done in the bigger centers over in St. Louis. But all of the follow-up, all of the pre-testing, everything there is done at OSF. So you don't have to cross the river.
Back and forth.
Until you go. And then it's the same cardiologist that you saw here doing your procedure over at SLU.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, and too, just the stress of getting people back and forth to appointments,
Absolutely.
That starts to eliminate here with this too.
Absolutely.
It's just, it's truly incredible to hear about this. And, before I let you go, if someone, maybe they're 50, 60 years old, maybe they're 40, who knows? It doesn't matter the age, but they're realizing that they maybe just got diagnosed with something. It seems like just the way that we've been talking the last 30 minutes is that this isn't really the end road. There's still so much more life to live with great treatment options and a great staff around you too.
Absolutely.
Anything else we should talk about for right now?
I don't think so. Just excited to be here and grateful for the opportunity to be with OSF. Everybody's committed to, making differences in the community. So
well, you guys are doing it, and I really mean that. And it's great to learn more and more about all the advancements that are happening to keep us from driving as much and receiving care in our own neighborhood. We'll take a quick break. We'll link everything in an article, do a write-up on this great conversation. At 9:53, we'll come back, wrap up the 9 o'clock hour after this in the heart of the 618.